Jasper Hawke, Chapter 1, The Summit. The streets of Vienna pulsed with the quiet hum of diplomacy. Inside the Imperial Grand Hotel, where the International Security Summit was underway, Jasper Hawke blended seamlessly into the opulence. The ballroom shimmered under a grand chandelier, polished floors reflecting the soft glow of 100 strategic conversations. Ministers, intelligence officers, and high-ranking officials from across the globe moved with rehearsed ease, exchanging pleasantries while silently assessing their counterparts. Jasper wasn't here to make conversation. Dressed in a tailored midnight blue tuxedo, he nursed a glass of champagne, his gaze sweeping the room. His target, a briefcase containing classified intelligence, leverage powerful enough to tip the scales of global security. His handler's voice crackled in his earpiece. "You've got 5 minutes before the handoff. Target is en route." Jasper took a casual sip, keeping his movements natural. He had rehearsed this 100 times. Identify the courier, secure the package, and extract without a trace. A textbook operation. But experience had taught him nothing ever goes by the book. The setup, he spotted his mark. Jean-Luc Moreau, a mid-level intelligence officer from France, walked in through the east entrance, clutching a sleek black briefcase. His expression was tight, nervous. A man who knew he was carrying something worth dying for. Jasper adjusted his cufflink, signaling to his team. Across the room, Elias King, his tech specialist, acknowledged with the barest nod. He was stationed near the bar, maintaining overwatch on potential threats. Evelyn Carter, his field partner, was stationed at the exit, dressed as a diplomat's assistant, keeping their escape route clear. Moreau cut across the floor, heading toward a Russian delegate, Minister Volkov, a man with deep Kremlin ties. Not good. Jasper moved as he intercepted Moreau near the edge of the ballroom, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "You're late," he murmured. Moreau flinched but recovered quickly. He turned slightly, meeting Jasper's gaze. The moment stretched too long. Something was off. Jasper tightened his grip. "Do you have it?" Moreau hesitated, just a flicker. But it was enough. The deal had changed. Before Jasper could react, Moreau twisted free, stepping away as if nothing had happened. He wasn't handing over the package. Jasper exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the room. Something bigger was at play. Then, a woman screamed. The chandelier above shattered as a gunshot rang out. Panic erupted. Jasper's instincts took over. Moreau bolted toward the side corridor, briefcase still in hand. Jasper didn't hesitate. The mission had just turned into a chase, a race through Vienna. Moreau was fast, but Jasper was faster. The moment they hit the hotel's private wing, Jasper closed the distance, grabbing Moreau's shoulder and slamming him against the wall. "Who changed the deal?" Jasper demanded. Moreau's hands trembled, but his grip on the briefcase remained iron tight. I was compromised. They know. They know everything." Jasper's blood ran cold. "Who?" Bang! A shot tore through the wall inches from his head. Moreau's eyes widened in horror. "They found us." Jasper had no time to ask who they were. Moreau shoved the briefcase into his hands. "Take it." Another shot. Moreau jerked, then crumpled, a red stain spreading across his chest. Jasper turned. Gun drawn at a masked assassin stood at the far end of the hallway. Silenced pistol. Controlled stance. Professional. Jasper fired first. The assassin twisted away, the bullet missing by inches. He darted through a side passage before Jasper could get a second shot. Elias's voice crackled in his ear. "Hawke, get out now. Security's flooding the building." Jasper grabbed the briefcase and ran. Betrayal. The fire escape led to a deserted alley. Cold Vienna air hit him as he stepped into the open, heart pounding. Evelyn was waiting at the rendezvous point, already in the getaway car. The black Audi idled, exhaust curling into the night air. Jasper threw himself into the passenger seat, locking the briefcase between his legs. "We're compromised," he said. "Moreau's dead." Evelyn peeled onto the main road, her knuckles white on the wheel. "Who else knows we were here?" Jasper's mind raced. The summit was supposed to be controlled. Only select intelligence agencies knew about the classified exchange. If someone had found out, that meant only one thing. They had a leak. Elias's voice cut through the silence. "We've got a problem." Jasper checked his side mirror. 2 black SUVs had pulled onto the road behind them. Elias's voice was tight. "The assassins weren't the only ones hunting you." Jasper's gut twisted. "Who else?" A pause. Then, "Our own people." Evelyn glanced at him. "You think we've been burned?" Jasper clenched his jaw. "I think someone inside our agency sold us out." The road ahead curved, leading toward the edge of the city. Evelyn pushed the car faster, but the SUVs behind them did the same. Jasper unlatched the briefcase. Inside, a single encrypted flash drive that he held it up to the light. "This is what they're willing to kill for." Evelyn kept her eyes on the road. "Then we better figure out what's on it before they bury us too." Jasper looked at the mirror again. The SUVs weren't backing off. He exhaled sharply. "Hold on." Then he rolled down the window and opened fire. Chapter 2. Burn Notice. The night air roared past Jasper Hawke as he leaned out of the moving car, his grip firm on his pistol. The pursuing black SUVs swerved as his bullets tore through their windshields. One driver lost control, the vehicle veering off the road and slamming into a row of parked cars. The second SUV stayed locked onto their tail. "Faster!" Jasper barked, ducking back inside as another burst of gunfire rattled against the Audi's rear bumper. Evelyn gritted her teeth, weaving through Vienna's narrow streets. "This thing isn't built for high-speed chases, Hawke." Jasper didn't reply. He was already leaning back out, lining up another shot. The second SUV surged forward. The passenger leaned out, a professional, judging by his steady aim. Jasper fired first. The bullet struck home, and the man toppled out onto the pavement. The SUV wobbled before recovering, still giving chase. "Take the next left," Jasper ordered. Evelyn hesitated. "That leads to the... now." She wrenched the wheel hard, sending the Audi into a sharp turn onto a construction site. The half-built road was littered with scaffolding and equipment. Jasper turned back to the SUV. The driver hesitated. A mistake. A crane loomed ahead, its steel cable swinging low. Evelyn swerved under it just in time. The SUV wasn't so lucky. The cable ripped through its windshield, crushing the vehicle instantly. Jasper exhaled. One problem down. Evelyn didn't slow. She maneuvered through the site, heading for a side exit. "We need to disappear. Now." Jasper checked his watch. We've got about 5 minutes before every agency in Europe knows we're here. The briefcase sat on his lap, the encrypted flash drive inside. It had cost Moreau his life. Now Jasper had to find out why. And that meant going dark. A safe house compromised. Evelyn drove them to a safe house on the outskirts of the city. An old apartment complex, long abandoned but still useful for agents in need of an emergency hideout. Jasper led the way inside, scanning for signs of disturbance. The place was exactly as he had left it months ago. Dust-covered furniture, a few stock supplies, and an emergency laptop with secure access. Elias was already waiting, his laptop open on the makeshift table. He didn't look up. "Tell me you have something good." Jasper tossed him the flash drive. "Find out what Moreau died for." Elias plugged it in, fingers flying over the keyboard. His expression turned grim. "This encryption is military grade. Not just any military, our military." Jasper exchanged a look with Evelyn. If this information was secured with their own country's encryption, then they weren't just dealing with an external threat. They had been burned by someone inside the system. Elias swore. "I need time to crack this." Jasper nodded. "You have 30 minutes. Evelyn crossed her arms. "And in the meantime?" Jasper checked his gun. "We prepare for whoever comes knocking." The betrayal. 20 minutes later, Elias cursed under his breath. "We've got a problem." Jasper didn't look up from cleaning his weapon. "Bigger than the one we're already in?" Elias turned the screen toward them. A live feed of their safe house, taken from a street surveillance camera. Jasper's stomach dropped. The camera feed shouldn't have been accessible, unless someone with high-level clearance was watching them. "Who has access to this?" Evelyn asked. Elias's face was grim. "Only one organization can pull street-level surveillance on demand without leaving a trace." Jasper clenched his jaw. Their own agency. Someone had already sold them out. The laptop beeped. The decryption had finished. Elias pulled up the file. Lines of data scrolled across the screen. Dossiers, financial transactions, classified intelligence reports. And then Jasper's blood went cold. The last file was a kill list. Names, faces, mission details. Agents who had been quietly eliminated over the past 6 months. One name stood out. Jasper Hawke, termination order approved. Silence filled the room. Jasper's own agency had sanctioned his execution. He exhaled, steadying his pulse. "Looks like I wasn't just burned. I was marked for elimination." Evelyn's expression darkened. "By who?" Jasper scrolled further, and then he saw the final signature at the bottom of the file. A name he knew all too well. Director Richard Calloway. The man who had recruited Jasper into the agency. His mentor. Betrayal burned deep. Before anyone could speak, a sharp beeping filled the room. Elias paled. "They've locked onto our signal." Jasper snapped into action. "We need to move now." Evelyn grabbed the laptop, while Elias packed what he could. Jasper pushed open the door and came face to face with a squad of armed men. The leader, dressed in a sleek, black tactical suit, smirked. "Jasper Hawke, you've been a very busy man." Jasper raised his hands slightly, assessing his options. The man stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Director Calloway sends his regards." Jasper tensed. Then he moved. Chapter 3. No Way Out. Jasper Hawke moved before the squad leader finished his sentence. With a sharp pivot, he yanked Evelyn backward, using the doorframe for cover as gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the walls, sending dust and debris into the air. "Move!" Jasper barked, already reaching for his pistol. Elias dove behind the overturned couch, fumbling for his laptop. Evelyn was right behind him, eyes wide but steady. She knew the drill. Jasper had 3 seconds before the squad stormed inside. He needed to turn the fight in his favor. He ducked low and fired 2 precise shots through the doorway. The first struck a soldier in the leg, dropping him instantly. The second found another man's shoulder, sending him sprawling against the wall. At a split-second opening, Jasper grabbed a smoke grenade from his belt, yanked the pin, and tossed it into the hallway. Thick gray smoke billowed out, swallowing the squad in confusion. "This way." Jasper motioned toward the emergency exit at the back of the safe house. Evelyn grabbed Elias's arm, dragging him toward the door. Jasper covered their retreat, firing controlled bursts through the smoke to keep the squad pinned down. Then, with one final shot, he took out the overhead light, plunging the corridor into darkness. They burst through the emergency exit, spilling into the narrow alleyway behind the building. Jasper didn't slow. "We need to split up. They'll expect us to run together." Evelyn hesitated. "And if we lose each other?" "You won't," Jasper said. "Get to the secondary rendezvous point, Berlin." She held his gaze for a second before nodding. "Stay alive." Then she grabbed Elias and disappeared into the shadows. Jasper exhaled. Time to vanish. A ghost in the city. Jasper moved fast, cutting through the tight alleyways of Vienna. He needed a disguise, cash, and a way out of Austria. Fast. First stop. A dead drop point. 5 minutes later, he was crouched behind a derelict bookstore, prying open a loose brick in the wall. Inside, a fake passport under the name Jonathan Pierce, a fold of cash in euros and Swiss francs. A small caliber pistol, not his usual preference, but it would do. Jasper shoved the items into his jacket and moved. He needed to get off the grid. Vienna was crawling with CCTV surveillance, and now that Calloway had sanctioned his kill order, every intelligence agency in Europe would be looking for him. Jasper slipped into a metro station, weaving through the late-night commuters. He swapped jackets with a distracted tourist, pulled a cap low over his face, and ducked into a departing train as the doors slid shut. He caught a glimpse of 2 men in suits scanning the platform. They were hunting him. Jasper turned his head, letting the train carry him away. Berlin was next. Calloway's trap. Jasper reached Berlin by dawn. The city's bitter cold bit through his stolen jacket as he navigated toward the rendezvous point. A rundown hotel near Alexanderplatz. The kind of place where nobody asked questions. He entered through the back, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Room 412. Jasper knocked twice, then once more. Evelyn opened the door. Relief flickered in her eyes. "You made it," she breathed. Jasper stepped inside, closing the door. Elias was seated at the desk, typing frantically. "We've got a big problem," Elias said. "I cracked the rest of the files on the drive. You're not just burned, Hawke. You're the fall guy." Jasper's stomach tightened. "Explain." Elias turned his laptop screen around. The documents showed classified intelligence leaks, weapons transfers, and unauthorized assassinations. all of them tied back to Jasper Hawke's alias. Someone had set him up. Evelyn clenched her jaw. They're framing you for an international intelligence breach. Jasper exhaled slowly. Calloway wasn't just trying to kill him. He was erasing him. That's not all, Elias added. There's an encrypted message buried in the files. It was sent from an anonymous source. The timestamp is from 2 days ago, meaning someone on the inside wants you to see this. Jasper leaned in. The message read, "Trust no one. Calloway is compromised. The leak is coming from inside the agency. Meet me in Prague. Tomorrow night, midnight." A name Jasper hadn't heard in years. Evelyn frowned. Who's R? Jasper's jaw tightened. Ronan Wolf. Elias's eyes widened. As in Wolf, the ex-Black Ops agent who disappeared 5 years ago? That's the one? Jasper muttered. If Wolf was reaching out, things were worse than Jasper had imagined. Evelyn shook her head. You really think this isn't a trap? Jasper flexed his fingers. I don't have a choice. If Wolf knows the truth, I need to hear it. Elias hesitated. Then we move fast, because I just picked up chatter on encrypted agency channels. Jasper met his gaze. Let me guess. Elias nodded. They know you're in Berlin. Jasper exhaled. No rest for the hunted. Chapter 4. Shadows in Prague. The road to Prague. The bitter Berlin wind cut through Jasper Hawke's stolen jacket as he and Evelyn boarded the night train bound for Prague. The compartment was dimly lit, its occupants a mix of tired travelers and businessmen too engrossed in their laptops to notice the two fugitives in their midst. Jasper adjusted his cap, angling his face away from the overhead cameras. Evelyn slid into the seat opposite him. You're sure about this? Jasper's gaze remained fixed on the passing darkness outside. If Ronan Wolf is alive and reaching out, I need to know why. Evelyn exhaled, pulling her coat tighter. Last I heard, Wolf went rogue. Burned every bridge. Jasper smirked. Sounds familiar. Evelyn didn't argue. She knew what was at stake. If Wolf had intel on the leak inside the agency, this meeting could be their only shot at clearing Jasper's name. But there was one problem. If Calloway knew they were headed to Prague, then someone would be waiting for them. The setup: they arrived at Prague's main station just before midnight. The city's Gothic skyline loomed under a low fog, the Vltava River glistening under the moonlight. Jasper led the way through the maze of cobblestone streets, weaving past bars spilling out late-night revelers and tourists. Evelyn kept close. Where's the meet? Jasper didn't slow. A bridge over the river. Wolf always liked dramatic spots. As they neared the Charles Bridge, Jasper's instincts screamed at him. Something was off. The bridge was too quiet. No late-night street performers, no couples lingering. Just the sound of distant traffic and the rhythmic slap of water against the stone. Jasper scanned the rooftops. Nothing. Then he saw it at a small infrared laser dot flickering against the stone railing. Too faint for anyone else to notice. At a sniper's scope, Jasper didn't stop walking, but his voice dropped. We're not alone. Evelyn's posture stiffened. How bad? Jasper's gaze swept the area. Sniper on the east tower. 2 men near the steps. Possible backup in the shadows. Evelyn kept moving beside him, her tone unreadable. Wolf. Maybe, Jasper murmured. Or maybe someone wants to make sure this meeting never happens. Ambush. Jasper reached the middle of the bridge and stopped. A lone figure stood near the stone railing, a cigarette glowing between his fingers. He was older now, but Ronan Wolf's presence hadn't changed. All coiled tension and careful stillness. Wolf turned, exhaling a slow stream of smoke. "Hawke! Wolf!" Evelyn stayed a step back, watching everything. Jasper didn't waste time. "You said Calloway was compromised. Tell me what you know." Wolf flicked his cigarette into the river. "First, tell me something. Why'd you come alone?" Jasper's gut clenched. He didn't blink. "Because I trust you." Wolf smirked. "Bad habit, Hawke." Then he moved. Fast. Jasper caught the shift of Wolf's stance just in time. Twisting as the ex-Black Ops agent lunged forward, a knife flashed under the streetlights. Jasper barely dodged as the blade slashed the air where his throat had been. He countered, catching Wolf's wrist and twisting. The knife clattered against the cobblestones. Evelyn reached for her gun. "Don't!" Wolf growled. A red laser appeared on her chest. "Sniper." Jasper clenched his jaw. It was a trap. Wolf stepped back, rubbing his wrist. "Calloway put a kill order on you, Hawke. You really thought you'd walk out of this alive?" Jasper didn't flinch. "You reached out to me." Wolf's expression darkened. "I reached out to warn you. You're chasing the wrong enemy." Evelyn's hands curled into fists. "You mean Calloway isn't the one who burned him?" Wolf shook his head. "Calloway's just another pawn. The real power behind this, you don't even see them coming." Jasper's mind raced. "Then give me a name." Wolf hesitated. A shadow shifted at the end of the bridge. Jasper knew the look in Wolf's eyes before he even spoke. "No time." Wolf took a step back. "You need to run." Then, gunfire erupted. Into the night, Jasper yanked Evelyn down as bullets tore through the air. Wolf vanished into the chaos, disappearing into the shadows like a ghost. Jasper fired 2 quick shots at the sniper's perch, enough to make him duck for cover. Evelyn grabbed his arm. "We're cut off." Jasper scanned the area. No exit. No time. Then he spotted it. A moored riverboat below the bridge. "Jump," Jasper ordered. Evelyn didn't argue. They vaulted over the stone railing. Cold air. A moment of weightlessness. Then, impact. The icy river swallowed them whole. Above, the bridge filled with flashing lights and shouting voices. Jasper surfaced first, dragging Evelyn up with him. The current pulled them toward the riverboat's hull. They grabbed onto a rusted metal ladder, hauling themselves onto the deck. Evelyn coughed. "Remind me, why do I follow you into these situations?" Jasper gave a tight grin. "For the thrill." She rolled her eyes but took his offered hand. Then she tensed. "What now?" Jasper exhaled. "We disappear." Chapter 5. Ghosts of Vienna. The escape route. The frigid air clung to Jasper Hawke's soaked clothes as he and Evelyn crouched behind a stack of cargo crates on the deck of the riverboat. The faint hum of sirens echoed from the streets above, searchlights sweeping over the water. They had barely escaped Prague alive. Jasper wiped water from his face, his mind racing. Wolf had given him just enough information to make things worse. Calloway wasn't the true enemy. Someone else was pulling the strings. Someone powerful enough to control intelligence agencies like chess pieces. Evelyn kept her voice low. "Where do we go now?" Jasper didn't hesitate. "Vienna." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. And what's in Vienna? An old friend. If we want to know who's really behind this, he's our best shot. Evelyn exhaled. I swear, if this is another ambush. Jasper gave a smirk. Then we'll do what we always do. She rolled her eyes. Run. He checked his ammo. No. Get ahead. Vienna safe house. The train to Vienna was uneventful. They changed compartments twice, avoided cameras, and stayed invisible by the time they reached the city. The night sky hung over the Danube River like a thick shroud. Vienna's historic streets, with their elegant facades and quiet alleyways, felt like a different world from the chaos in Prague. Jasper led Evelyn through the twisting streets until they reached an unmarked wooden door in a forgotten part of the city. He knocked twice, waited, then knocked again. A slot in the door slid open. Cold, sharp eyes examined them. Then the door creaked open. Inside, a man stood waiting. He was older, his silver hair cropped close, a scar tracing the edge of his jawline. Luca Moreau, former French intelligence, a ghost who had disappeared off the radar years ago. Moreau eyed Jasper. You look like hell. Jasper smirked. And you look like you missed me. Moreau sighed. Come in before someone sees you. The real threat. The safe house was small but secure. Reinforced doors, encrypted communication lines, and a well-stocked armory. Moreau poured himself a glass of whiskey, motioning for Jasper and Evelyn to sit. I heard about Prague, Moreau said. Who are you running from this time? Jasper leaned forward. I need information. Someone inside the agency betrayed me. But Calloway isn't the one pulling the strings. Moreau swirled his glass. You want a name? Jasper nodded. Moreau studied him for a long moment, then sighed. I thought you might come looking one day. He reached into a drawer, pulling out a worn file. Jasper took it, flipping through pages of redacted reports, intelligence briefings, and surveillance logs. Then his eyes froze on a name. Rainer Voss. Evelyn's breath hitched. You're kidding. Jasper's grip on the file tightened. Voss is dead. Moreau shook his head. That's what everyone was supposed to believe. Jasper knew the name well. Rainer Voss, ex-German intelligence, a legend in Black Ops circles. Ruthless, brilliant, and supposedly killed in an off-the-books mission over a decade ago. Jasper glanced up. If Voss is alive, what does he want? Moreau leaned back. Power, influence, and control over every intelligence network in Europe. Evelyn exhaled. And you think he's the one pulling the strings? Moreau nodded. He's been building something bigger than anything we've seen before. And if he's cleaning house, then you, my friend, are just the beginning. Jasper closed the file. Where do we find him? Moreau hesitated. That's the problem. No one finds Voss. He finds you. Jasper smirked. Then we make him come to us. Setting the trap, Evelyn crossed her arms. And how exactly do we do that? Walk into the lion's den. Jasper tapped the file. If he's after control, he needs leverage. And there's one piece of intelligence he doesn't have yet. Moreau's expression darkened. The summit files. Jasper nodded. The classified files he had tried to retrieve in Paris before the mission went sideways. The ones that got him burned. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. You think he still wants them? Jasper smirked. I think he wants to make sure no one else gets them. Moreau sighed. If you're right, then you're making yourself the biggest target in Europe. Jasper stood. Good. He glanced at Evelyn. Get ready, she groaned. For what? Jasper grabbed his gear. To meet the devil. Chapter 6. The Devil's Handshake. A bait too tempting to resist. The dim glow of the Vienna safe house did little to mask the weight of what Jasper Hawke had just proposed. If we're going to lure Voss out, Jasper said, we need to make sure he believes we have something he can't ignore. Evelyn crossed her arms. And that something is the summit files? Jasper nodded. We plant the idea that we got our hands on them. If Voss is the one orchestrating all of this, he won't sit back and watch. Moreau took a sip of whiskey, his fingers tapping against the glass. That's a dangerous gamble. Jasper smirked. The best ones always are. Moreau sighed and ran a hand through his silvered hair. There's an old contact in Zurich, someone who deals in intelligence leaks. If we accidentally let him believe we have the files, the news will spread faster than wildfire. Jasper nodded. Then let's light the match. Zurich the leak. Jasper and Evelyn arrived in Zurich under heavy disguises. The city was a neutral ground for intelligence operatives, a place where secrets were currency and alliances shifted like sand in a storm. Their target was Felix Kessler, an information broker known for trading in classified intelligence. If anyone could make sure the rumor reached Voss, it was him. Kessler's usual haunt was an upscale bar, tucked between corporate buildings. A perfect spot for discreet dealings. As Jasper and Evelyn entered, the air was thick with expensive cologne and whispered conversations. A den of spies, criminals, and power brokers. Kessler sat at a table near the back, his round glasses glinting under the chandelier light. He was a short, wiry man with a permanent smirk, as if he was always in on some grand joke. Jasper approached, sliding into the seat across from him. Kessler leaned back. Well, I thought you were dead. Jasper smiled. Disappointed. Kessler chuckled. Depends on what you're selling. His eyes flicked to Evelyn. And who your lovely friend is. Evelyn ignored him. We have something valuable, and we know you're the man to make sure the right people hear about it. Kessler's interest peaked. Go on. Jasper leaned in. The summit files. Kessler stilled. His smirk faded. You're joking. Jasper tilted his head. Do I look like I am? Kessler exhaled sharply. Do you have any idea what kind of firestorm you're inviting? Jasper smirked. That's the point. Kessler studied him, then chuckled. You really are insane, but I like insane. He reached for his drink. For a price, I can make sure the right ears hear about this. But if you're lying, he let the sentence hang. Jasper smiled. Then I guess I'll have to disappear again. Kessler laughed. Fine, consider it done. As Jasper and Evelyn left the bar, Evelyn muttered, You know this is going to get us killed, right? Jasper kept his eyes on the street. Not if we move first. A ghost in the shadows. It didn't take long for the bait to work. By morning, whispers of the summit files being in play had spread across Zurich's intelligence circuits. By midday, they were being followed. Jasper spotted the tail immediately. A man in a dark coat, walking with purpose but keeping his distance. Another waited near a street corner, pretending to check his phone. They weren't amateurs. Evelyn, walking beside Jasper, whispered, "How many?" "3, maybe 4. Evelyn exhaled. "Voss's men." Jasper nodded. "Which means we're right where we need to be." They turned a corner and slipped into an alleyway, disappearing into the maze of Zurich's backstreets. Their pursuers hesitated, then split up. Jasper pressed against a wall, listening. The sound of footsteps, careful, calculated. He glanced at Evelyn. "Ready." She pulled out her knife. "Always." The moment the first man entered the alley, Jasper struck. A swift elbow to the throat, a sharp twist of the wrist. The gun clattered to the ground. Evelyn moved just as fast, slashing at the second man's arm before kicking him hard in the ribs. The third attacker hesitated, raising his weapon, too slow. Jasper grabbed the barrel, twisting it aside as he drove a knee into the man's gut. A quick strike to the temple, and the man crumpled. Evelyn stepped over the bodies, wiping her blade. "Not bad." Jasper crouched down, pulling a phone from one of the unconscious men's pockets. A text message was open on the screen. "Meet at the Kunsthaus. Midnight." Jasper smirked. "Looks like we have a meeting to attend." The Kunsthaus confrontation. Zurich's Kunsthaus Museum was an unusual place for an intelligence rendezvous, but that only confirmed one thing. This was Voss's play. At midnight, Jasper and Evelyn entered the museum's dimly lit halls. The place was deserted, the only sound the faint hum of security cameras. Then, from the shadows, a voice. "I was starting to think you wouldn't show." Jasper turned. A man stood near a large painting, dressed in an immaculate black suit. His piercing blue eyes locked onto Jasper's with amusement. Rainer Voss. Jasper felt Evelyn tense beside him. Voss was alive, and more dangerous than ever. Voss smiled. "You've caused quite a stir, Hawke." Jasper kept his posture relaxed. "I have a habit of doing that." Voss clasped his hands behind his back. "You have something I want, and I have something you need." Jasper smirked. "I doubt that." Voss chuckled. "Ah, but you see, I know who burned you." Jasper's smirk faded. Voss tilted his head. "Calloway was never your problem. He was just a pawn. But the real mastermind." He took a step closer. "I can give you their name." Evelyn whispered. "He's playing us." Jasper held her back. "What do you want in return?" Voss smiled. "The summit files. Give them to me, and I'll give you the truth." Jasper studied him, his mind working through the angles. If Voss wanted the files that badly, it meant he wasn't just after power, he was afraid of something in them. Which meant Jasper had leverage. He smiled. "I'll think about it." Voss chuckled. "You always were difficult. But don't take too long, Hawke. Time is running out." He turned to leave, his voice echoing through the empty hall. "The next time we meet, bring the files. Or don't bother coming at all." As Voss disappeared into the night, Evelyn turned to Jasper. "We don't even have the files." Jasper's smirk returned. "No." He slipped a USB drive from his pocket. "But we're about to steal them." Chapter 7. The Zurich Gambit, a high-stakes heist. Zurich was quiet beneath the cold grip of midnight. The streets were empty, save for the occasional luxury car rolling past like sharks in still water. Jasper Hawke and Evelyn stood in the shadows outside a Fortis data vault, one of the most secure digital archives in Europe. Inside this fortress of encrypted secrets lay what they needed. The real summit files. Evelyn checked her watch. We have a 20-minute window before the next security sweep. Jasper exhaled. Plenty of time. The plan was simple in theory, impossible in execution. Break into an impenetrable data vault, steal classified files, and escape without setting off every alarm in Switzerland. Moreau's voice crackled in their earpieces. This is insane, you know? Jasper smirked. Wouldn't be fun otherwise. He pulled a small black cube from his jacket, a custom EMP device. It wouldn't kill the vault's power, but it would buy them 60 seconds before the backup systems kicked in. Jasper crouched near the service panel and attached the device. 3, 2, 1. A soft hum, then a pulse of energy rippled outward. The security lights flickered. Go! The ghosts in the machine. Jasper and Evelyn slipped through the disabled door lock and entered the facility. The interior was cold, sterile. Rows of reinforced steel doors lined the walls, each guarding terabytes of classified intelligence. Evelyn pulled up the stolen access codes Moreau had provided. The files are stored in Vault 14. Jasper scanned the hallway, cameras down, but not for long. They moved quickly. Vault 14 loomed before them, its biometric scanner blinking red. Jasper knelt by the panel and pulled out a spoofing device, feeding it a digital clone of a high-level executive's fingerprints. A tense second. Then, click, the door hissed open. Inside, rows of black server racks pulsed with blue light. Evelyn rushed to the terminal. We need to be fast. She plugged in the decryption drive. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. File transfer, 60%. Jasper kept watch. Something felt off, 70%. Evelyn frowned. Someone else accessed these files before. Jasper's gut tightened. Who? Evelyn worked fast. There's a backdoor trace. Someone pulled these files yesterday. 80%. Jasper's mind raced. Voss had wanted the files. But if someone had already taken them, then why did Voss act like he still needed them? The realization hit hard. Voss wasn't after the files. He was after them. 90%. An alert flashed across the screen. Unauthorized access detected. Jasper's pulse spiked. We've been made. Wrap it up. 100%. Evelyn yanked the drive free. A voice echoed through the vault speakers. Hawke. Jasper froze. It was Voss. His voice was calm, amused. He had expected them. Did you really think I wouldn't be watching? The main doors slammed shut, alarms blaring. Evelyn cursed. He played us. Jasper clenched his jaw. Not yet, he hasn't. Escape and pursuit. Jasper grabbed a flashbang from his belt and pulled the pin. Eyes shut. A deafening bang filled the vault as white light flooded the room. They moved. Fast. Jasper led Evelyn through the emergency exit, straight into a squad of armed men. They barely had time to react before bullets ripped through the air. Jasper ducked, firing back as Evelyn took out a guard with a precise shot. Down the stairwell. They sprinted down 3 flights, gunfire echoing behind them. Jasper kicked open a maintenance door, leading them into a narrow alley. Their getaway car, a sleek black BMW, was waiting. Moreau sat behind the wheel, looking exasperated. Every time, Hawke. Jasper grinned. Drive. Tires screeched as they tore into the streets and the rearview mirror. Black SUVs roared after them. The highway trap. The chase led them to the A1 highway, weaving through Zurich's late-night traffic. Evelyn checked the stolen drive. We have the files. But Voss knew we'd come for them. Jasper's mind worked fast. Then the real question is, who took them before us? Moreau swerved hard, avoiding a pursuing vehicle. We need to lose these guys. Jasper spotted a tunnel ahead. Cut the lights. Stay close to the left lane. Moreau didn't hesitate as they entered the tunnel. Jasper unbuckled his seatbelt and climbed into the back. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. What are you? Jasper yanked open the trunk, grabbing a small satchel. Inside, C for explosives. Hold steady. He opened the rear window, bracing himself against the rushing wind. The SUVs were gaining. With expert precision, Jasper tossed the explosive onto the tunnel's ceiling. Timing it perfectly as they exited the tunnel, he hit the detonator at a controlled explosion sent debris crashing behind them, blocking the road. The SUVs swerved. Too late. Point one clipped the wreckage and flipped. The others skidded to a halt. They were free. The missing link. Moreau pulled onto a deserted road, breathing hard. You two are insane. Evelyn ignored him, staring at the stolen drive. Jasper wiped the dust off his jacket. We need to decrypt that. Evelyn's fingers flew across her tablet, running a deep scan. Then her expression changed. Jasper leaned in. What is it? Evelyn hesitated. There's something buried in the data, a hidden file. She tapped the screen, and a single name appeared. Jasper's blood went cold. Moreau read it aloud. Victoria Langley. Evelyn looked up. Who is she? Jasper's jaw tightened. He knew exactly who she was. And if her name was on that file, then the stakes had just become personal. Chapter 8, Ghosts of the Past. A name from the shadows. The name Victoria Langley burned on the tablet screen like a ghost from Jasper Hawke's past. Evelyn frowned. Who is she? Jasper didn't answer right away. He forced himself to breathe, to push back the flood of memories clawing at the edges of his mind. Moreau tapped the steering wheel impatiently. Judging by that look on your face, she's not just some random bureaucrat. Jasper's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. Victoria Langley is, or was, one of the most dangerous covert operatives Britain ever produced. MI6 wiped her from official records years ago. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. Then why is she in this file? Jasper's thoughts raced. The last time he had seen Langley was years ago. She had been running an off-the-books operation, deep undercover in Moscow. Then, she vanished. The intelligence community had written her off as dead. But if her name was buried in these files, it meant she wasn't just alive. She was in play. Moreau pulled the car into a secluded forest road, shutting off the engine. So what now? Evelyn tapped the encrypted drive. I need more time to break this open. The data is layered. Whoever tried to bury it didn't want anyone finding it. Jasper clenched his jaw. Voss had been playing them from the start. Now, the game had changed, and they were running out of time. The Zurich safe house. The safe house was buried deep in the Swiss countryside, an old chalet repurposed into a tactical hideout. Evelyn set up her laptop, running a deeper decryption on the files. Moreau checked their weapons, always preparing for the worst. Jasper stood by the window, scanning the tree line, his instincts on high alert. Evelyn's voice broke the silence. Got something. Jasper turned. Talk to me. She pulled up an audio recording, distorted but decipherable. The voice was unmistakably Victoria Langley. The summit is a cover. You're all being played. If you're hearing this, it's already too late. Static. Trust no one. And tell Hawke. The recording cut off abruptly. Jasper's grip tightened on the chair. She had known. She had known about the summit, the betrayal, everything. Moreau exhaled. That's not good. Jasper's mind worked fast. Where was this recording sent from? Evelyn checked the metadata. Vienna. 48 hours ago. Moreau whistled. If she's in Vienna, she's running. Jasper grabbed his jacket. Then we're going to Vienna. A meeting in the dark. They moved fast, chartering a private flight under falsified passports to BY nightfall. They were in Vienna, the city alive with energy. Jasper had set up the meet in Prater Park, using an old protocol Langley would recognize now. He waited. Evelyn and Moreau kept watch from a cafe across the street, eyes scanning the crowd. Minutes passed. Then, movement. A woman approached the park bench, wrapped in a long coat, her hood low. Jasper's breath caught. Langley. She sat beside him, her voice barely above a whisper. You shouldn't have come. Jasper's eyes stayed on the city lights ahead. Didn't leave me much choice. She sighed. They'll be watching, listening. Jasper tensed. Voss. Langley nodded. And others. You don't understand, Hawke. This isn't just about stolen intelligence. Jasper turned to face her. Then tell me what it is about. Langley hesitated, then reached into her coat, pulling out a small flash drive. She pressed it into his palm. The truth. Before Jasper could say another word, she stood. Her final words sent a chill through him. They're already here. Then she disappeared into the night. The trap is sprung. Jasper's instincts screamed at him. Moved. He pushed off the bench and crossed the street. His pace controlled but urgent. In the cafe, Moreau noticed first. Hawke, we've got company. 2 men in dark coats approached from the west. Another 2 from the east. Evelyn muttered, That's not good. Jasper slipped into the cafe and sat down, his voice low. We've been burned. We need an exit. Moreau smirked. Already planned for it. He nudged his coffee cup slightly. Underneath was a small detonator switch. Jasper gave him a look. Really? Moreau shrugged. It's a small charge, just enough to create chaos. Evelyn sighed. I work with lunatics. Jasper smirked. You love it. Outside, the men in dark coats closed in. Moreau hit the switch. A loud bang rocked the opposite side of the street, smoke flooding the air as glass shattered. The distraction was enough. Jasper led them out the back, disappearing into the alleys. The game had just changed. They weren't just running anymore. Now they were hunting. Chapter 9. The final play. A new target. The Vienna skyline stretched before them, bathed in the cold glow of the midnight city. From the rooftop of an abandoned office building, Jasper Hawke scanned the streets below, his grip firm on the silenced pistol holstered at his side. Evelyn crouched beside him, her laptop balanced on a crate, the small screen flashing with lines of decrypted text. I got it, she whispered, glancing up at Jasper. Langley's file, there's more. Moreau, watching the alleyways below, turned. How bad? Evelyn's face was tight. Worse than we thought. She exhaled. The summit wasn't just a meeting of intelligence officials. It was a setup, an exchange. The documents Hawke was supposed to retrieve, they were bait. Jasper narrowed his eyes. Bait for what? Evelyn hesitated, then tapped a sequence of keys. A new name appeared on the screen. Adrik Volkov. Jasper's pulse quickened. He knew that name. Everyone in covert operations did. Volkov was a shadow broker, an ex-Russian intelligence operative who had turned mercenary, selling high-level intelligence to the highest bidder. The man was a ghost, moving between continents, always staying one step ahead. Moreau let out a low whistle. If Volkov is involved, we're dealing with a whole different level of trouble. Jasper's mind worked fast. Where is he now? Evelyn adjusted her headset, running a trace. According to this, he's flying into Berlin in 6 hours. Jasper met her gaze. This was their chance. Volkov wasn't just a middleman. If anyone knew the real power behind this operation, it was him. Moreau stretched. Looks like we're going to Berlin. Jasper stood, his mind already calculating point one shot. That's all they would get. The Berlin chase. The plan was simple. Intercept Volkov at Tempelhof Airfield, where his private jet would land. Extract the information. Get out. But plans never stayed simple. Jasper, Evelyn, and Moreau moved fast, securing an overwatch position near the abandoned airport terminal. A blacked-out SUV sat idling in the distance, its headlights cutting through the mist of Volkov's jet touched down at exactly 3:14 a.m. The moment the plane taxied to a stop, the SUV moved in. Jasper's voice was sharp. That's not his security detail. Evelyn was already scanning. Multiple heat signatures. Looks like a kill squad. Moreau tightened his grip on the sniper rifle. Do we engage? Jasper's jaw clenched. They weren't the only ones hunting Volkov. Before he could answer, the SUV's doors swung open. Gunfire erupted. Volkov barely made it down the steps before his guards were cut down. Precise ambush. Jasper moved. Cover me. Moreau fired the first shot, a clean headshot, sending one of the attackers sprawling. The others scrambled for cover. Jasper sprinted toward the tarmac, ducking low as bullets whizzed past. He reached Volkov just as the Russian clutched his side, blood seeping through his coat. The man's voice was weak but urgent. Too late. You don't understand. Jasper grabbed him, dragging him toward the cover of a fuel truck. Then make me understand. Volkov coughed, his breathing ragged. Voss was never in control. Jasper's blood ran cold. Then who is? Volkov's lips parted, forming a name, but a bullet struck his head before he could speak. Jasper swore, ducking as more rounds hammered into the truck. Moreau's voice crackled in his earpiece. Hawke, we need to go. Jasper had seconds to act. He grabbed Volkov's burner phone, pocketing it before dashing back toward Evelyn's position. They hit the exit hard, disappearing into the industrial district before reinforcements arrived. The final puzzle piece. Back at their safe house, Evelyn worked on cracking Volkov's phone while Moreau cleaned his weapons. Jasper paced. Volkov had been silenced before he could reveal the final piece of the puzzle. But why? Evelyn muttered. Got it. Jasper turned sharply. What? She held up the phone, eyes wide. An encrypted message was set to autosend if Volkov died. Jasper took the device, scrolling through the decrypted text. His stomach twisted. The message wasn't just about stolen intelligence. It was an invitation. TOA meeting. AT the Grand Palais. Paris. Jasper's mind raced. The Grand Palais was hosting an elite private auction that night. One that catered to the world's most powerful individuals. And according to the message, the final piece of classified intelligence would be sold there. Evelyn whispered, "That's what this was all about." Jasper exhaled. The summit, the documents, the betrayals, it all led here. Moreau smirked. "Then I guess we're crashing a party." Jasper slipped his gun into his holster. One last mission. One final chance to end this. Before it was too late. Chapter 10. Endgame. The Grand Palais. Paris. The Grand Palais loomed in the Parisian night, its glass and steel dome glittering under the city's golden glow. Inside, the world's elite gathered for an exclusive, off-the-books auction. The kind where money, power, and secrets changed hands in whispered conversations. Dressed in a tailored black tuxedo, Jasper Hawke adjusted his cufflinks as he strode through the entrance. His posture relaxed, but his mind razor-sharp. Beside him, Evelyn Drake wore a crimson evening gown, her every move measured, her concealed earpiece relaying encrypted chatter from Moreau, who remained stationed in a surveillance van. Nearby, the stolen intelligence, the real target of this operation, was being sold tonight, and Jasper had one shot at stopping it. The auction begins. From their vantage point near the marble staircase, Evelyn scanned the crowd. "Recognize anyone?" Jasper sipped his drink, his gaze sweeping the who's who of global corruption. Arms dealers, former intelligence officials, politicians. Then, his eyes locked onto a face he never expected. Director Malcolm Voss. Jasper's grip tightened. "Voss is here." Evelyn followed his line of sight. "Are you sure?" Jasper smirked. "I never forget a traitor." Moreau's voice crackled in their ears. "Auction's starting. Whatever we do it fast." A masked auctioneer stepped onto the stage, flanked by two guards. A sleek black case was placed on the podium. The room hushed. A digital screen behind the auctioneer flickered to life, displaying classified blueprints, schematics, and Jasper's stomach twisted. Deep cover intelligence dossiers on international operatives. Names, locations, identities. This wasn't just stolen intelligence. This was a kill list. And Jasper was on it. The betrayal. Bidding started at 20 million euros. Voss remained silent, watching. Jasper moved. "I'm getting that case." Evelyn subtly reached for her clutch, where a concealed flash drive rested. "We need to get to the data first." Moreau cut in. "Security's tight. Cameras everywhere. You're gonna need a distraction." Jasper smirked. "I'll handle it." As the bid climbed past 50 million, Jasper walked toward the auctioneer's stage, his path taking him directly toward Voss. The older man raised an eyebrow, amused. "Hawke." Jasper smiled coldly. "Didn't expect to see me?" Voss chuckled. "On the contrary, I knew you'd make it this far." Jasper kept his voice even. "Why sell intelligence that could burn your own network?" Voss leaned in. "Because it's not my network anymore." He motioned subtly to the stage. "This list? It's already sold." Jasper's pulse quickened. "To who?" A sharp click. Jasper felt the cold barrel of a gun press against his spine that he didn't turn. He already knew who held it: Evelyn. His expression didn't change, but inside, the realization struck like a bullet. Moreau's voice crackled. "Hawke? What's happening?" Evelyn exhaled. "I'm sorry, Jasper." The pieces fell into place. Evelyn had been feeding Voss information the entire time. Jasper forced a smirk. "Should have known. You played the long game well." She hesitated. "It wasn't personal." Jasper shifted slightly, just enough to feel the angle of the gun. "No, it never is." The last move, the auctioneer declared the final bid, 80 million euros, and signaled the guards to take the case to a private buyer. Jasper moved in one fluid motion. He twisted, grabbing Evelyn's wrist and forcing her gun downward. A single shot rang out, striking the floor. The room erupted into chaos. Security stormed in. The case was being rushed toward the VIP exit. Jasper sprinted, weaving through the crowd, his heart pounding. Moreau's voice was sharp. "Hawke, get that case." 2 guards flanked the exit. Jasper grabbed a champagne bottle from a passing tray, hurling it into the nearest guard's face. Glass shattered, blood sprang. The second guard raised his weapon, too slow. Jasper drove an elbow into his throat, grabbing his gun as he fell. Ahead, the buyer, a Middle Eastern billionaire, was being escorted into a waiting armored car, the case secured inside. Jasper fired. 2 clean shots. The driver slumped forward, the car skidding to a stop. Jasper sprinted, yanking the passenger door open just as the buyer fumbled for a pistol-point-one punch. The man collapsed. Jasper grabbed the case, his breath ragged. In the distance, sirens blared. "Moreau, time to go." Jasper turned to see Evelyn watching him from the crowd. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither moved. Then she disappeared into the chaos. Jasper exhaled. Another ghost left behind. The aftermath. By sunrise, the stolen intelligence was destroyed. Voss had vanished. Again. Jasper stood by the Seine, watching the water ripple. Moreau approached, hands in his pockets. "So what now?" Jasper smirked. "There's always another war." Moreau nodded. "And Evelyn?" Jasper exhaled. "She made her choice." Moreau chuckled. "So did you." Jasper turned, walking away. The game never ended, and neither did he.